All right, great. We always do that before. I'm not preaching today, okay? Well, we always do that before we let everybody say hello to say somebody. But my name is Fitz, and I get the opportunity to serve here as our outreach coordinator with our staff. And what my role is to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the community, and to get in oftentimes where state government can't. And we city serve. We work here with every Arkansan, where we work with about 300 or 400 churches, where we try to get things to all churches, why we call it every Arkansan, to get involved in the communities. And I found over the last 2 years of being a part of every Arkansan with our whole staff there, some of them back there, Marius, who does our Dream Center programs with the kids, they feeding every day, is how many times the things that we don't even think about leads into the violent situations that we have. I'm going to give you, for example, and then as I bring you to the stories of everything that tied into the research of what we have, I get a call from Special K, which I call her, down at Dream Center. She said, Coach, she said, we have a kid that DHS is going to take out of the home if we don't have 2 beds for the little boys by this weekend. They've been sleeping on the floor, and they feel like that they do not have beds, that they're going to take them and put them in foster care. Well, the reason that's the issue, and it clicked in my mind, is because I realized 60 to 70% of all perpetrators of gun violence have been in foster care. So if we could keep these babies out of foster care, then we're keeping pain from coming into the community. Because oftentimes they find in foster care, you're detached, you don't know the families, all things happen, the research is just ugly. So I called Drew, and I said, Drew, I know beds are now beds, now I just want to know, sometimes you see, beds can change the game. Just those little things, see, that's why we need to articulate and make sure you understand. So we just think we get up in the bed every night and it's going to be there. That's not the case for everybody. But that bed, we got 2 beds by that Friday. I went and got a U-Haul, delivered those 2 beds over there. The grandmother was working. You know what happened? The reason DHS was going to take, the grandmother took the children because the mother was addicted to drugs and nobody was there. So the grandmother went and got them after they arrested the mother, and nobody was there, so they were going to be orphans. So the grandmother took them but didn't have anywhere for them to sleep. She couldn't go buy 2 beds. So I had met this lady at North Little Rock School District. She came to City Serve. She called me. She said, Coach, didn't you say you could help us get some beds? She said, well, we need 2 beds or DHS is going to take these kids from the grandmother. The grandmother was working the Saturday morning that me and my church member went there to deliver the beds to the mother. The grandmother was there. We walked into the house. It was a kid, 11 and 13, I think it was. No, 10 and 12. So when I walked in, I pulled up. They said, who is this? Well, the social worker was taking me. So I go in there. And as soon as we pull up, they say, who is this? And they said, what is that? And she said, we got y'all beds. She said, who got us beds? And my church member said, Jesus. See, that's the hands and feet of Jesus. Now, I had to call Drew, and so then what we do, I said, now listen, I'm a default church. That means everything comes here, then I said, now we got to get you attached to this church over here in this community so we can get them tied into City Serve so that church can come and ask for what that community needs. That's what the church is supposed to do. So that's what leadership and faith is. It's about extraordinary things outside the doors of the church. That's leadership and faith outside the doors of the church. So thank you for being here, and I want to start with that story. We're here today because of an experience I had in Richmond, California. Y'all remember the movie Coach Carter? That's real. I'm recruiting at San Jose State. I'm the head football coach at San Jose State. And I've got about 52 guys that played in NFL. I'm pretty good at assessing talent. So I see this guy on film, and I say, Coach, I need to go see this player. I need to go to his house tonight. They said, well, don't waste your time on him. You can't get him. I said, well, what, is he going to Stanford? He got a 1,600 on the SAT? He said, no, just don't waste your time. I said, well, Pete Carroll has just got the job at USC. And I said, he's going down to Southern Cal with Snoop Dogg. I said, I want to know what's going on. He said, no, Coach, you don't mess with him. Then I said, okay. He did about 2 more things on film. I said, I got to go, coach. I got to see I got to see him. He said, nope. I said, well, tell me what's up. He said, he can't read. I said, what? He said, he can't read. I said, he's in the 12th grade. I said, well, what? I said, this is the start. I said, he's starting running back. I said, how did he get there in the 12th grade? I said, hold on, coach. I said, you done messed me up. I said, at 3:30 today, is he going to be at football practice or in the library somebody teach him how to read? He said, he'll be at football practice. I said, how you do that? And you know, if you know what Richmond, California is, there's a lot of that happening. So that day, discontent became the catalyst for change. And I decided, I said, God, I know my purpose is bigger than coaching 105 men. And I realized what had been going on. So 2 years later, he forced me out of coaching. I got fired. Sometimes, you know, when God closed one door, he'll open another. But I got fired. But what he did, he gave me a stipend. Yeah. He gave me a stipend, a little something I could come down here and buy me a house. Did it, took care. And I said, Jules, I said, my son, I said, I'm going to coach you and all your friends. That's what God's going to do. We're going to move to Little Rock, and that's what with Steve, we started Life Champs. You know, Steve and my partner in West Little Rock, when we started Life Champs, we were going to start at 7. I said, oh, no. They said, well, I said, it got to be 5 and 6. I said, because I'm coaching my son. I'm going to coach my boy. Start at 5. If we ain't starting at 5, I'm not in it because he's 5. You know, so I was setting everything on that. And then from the next 7 years, but I realized how many kids we coached. But Richmond, California changed my life. And next thing I know, I'm the president of Arkansas Baptist College. And I read a study that said only 5% of African-American males who enroll in college commit a crime. That's a study. Everything was about numbers. Only 5% of African-American males who enroll in college that year will be involved in the criminal justice system. But here's the problem. So I thought, I'm going to go to Arkansas Baptist College. The college started by former slaves. In 1884, open enrollment mission. No standard for ACT, no GPA. All you got to do, I say, if you have a I want you. Wake up, show up, follow up. Don't hit the alarm when it go off. Get up and let's get moving. And boy, I used to love to go in the East St. Louis with Brian Miller, Chicago. People the chief of police came and said, well, how you get almost 800 men over here? I said, well, we go to recruit with places more dangerous than Little Rock. We go to Chicago, we go to East St. Louis, we go to Detroit. And I said, if you don't have men, you ain't working hard enough because they there. You just got to go get them. You give them 3 things: love, food, and godly expectation. You love them first. See, most people used to come out of college at Arkansas Baptist College, they say, man, coach, why they wear their pants down that low? I said, ain't nobody told them to pull them up. I say, but I'm not worried about how they wear them when they come in. I said, that's relationship. I said, I have to build a relationship with them. Then you know what else I know? If you elevate the mind, the pants come up. And you give them reasons for that. When I look over here at Coach Bailey, our recruiting coordinator over there for Arkansas Baptist College in football, we were full because we gave access and opportunity to those who didn't have it. And that's what we do. So it's amazing how when God brought me to Arkansas Baptist College, the guys you getting ready to hear from, one of the guys, when we got there, it was 129 students, and one of them name was Antoine Turtle Jones, and it wasn't but 129 students, so I started looking at all their grades. So I looked down at the grades, and I looked at, so everybody who was flunking, I called into the office like I was a principal. It wasn't but about 57 guys at the time. Turtle ended up coming into my office. I didn't know who he was, had no history on him. All I told him, I said, Turtle? I said, Antoine? Yes, sir. I said, you can get a 1 point by going to class. I said, what you doing? And you know what he told me? The long story, I'm going to let him tell you the story. You're the first man ever asked me to do right. That's what he said. That's what he told me. He said, I'm going to show you. Long story short, I'm going to let him tell the story. I didn't see him till that next Christmas. I go to college. I go down to Arkansas. I go to college. I go to the college on the Christmas holidays. And somebody, as soon as I pull up on Martin Luther King Drive, somebody say, "You know who was killed last night? That's your student's daughter." I said, "Who?" Down, 6 blocks down. I hadn't seen Antoine since he left my office, and he promised me he was going to do good, but I hadn't seen him. I pull up right on Martin Luther King Drive, 6 blocks down. It was like a scene from Boys in the Hood. Antoine and his buddies were standing right there in front of the car. I remember like it was yesterday. He looked. He said, "Dr. Hill." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I told you I wasn't a good person, but I've been trying to change." And he said, "Man, they killed my daughter last night. They were after me, shot my house 58 times, killed my daughter." And he said, I said, "What you?" He said, "Well, you know what we got to do?" I said, "No, can't do that." Then he said, "You check my grades." I said, "I didn't come here to check your grades. I want to pray for you and do now I know." He said, "I appreciate it." I said, "You need anything?" He said, "No." He said, "I'm good." He said, "I'd like to have a suit." We got him a suit. But he said, "You check my grades." Again. He said, "I made 4 A's, a B, and a C because you asked me to." And Turtle ended up graduating from Arkansas Baptist College. Change in his life experiences. Turtle, come on up here on stage over here. He's going to be here. Charlie Rock. Turtle introduced me to a whole new world. You remember the song says a whole new world? A world I didn't know. But he let me know that Arkansas Baptist College could be transformative in changing the lives of people and the education that it had. So I got to meet Charlie Rock. And so what I did, when you see the newsletter and the research, everything I do is on facts, not feelings. Feelings are not facts. Facts are truth. So I'm not running for office. I don't need a vote. Faith-based, all right? But we deal with the truth and the facts. And so when I realized, as we start doing the research, they on the Dory, which I was able to start before I left Arkansas Baptist College doing research, and I started doing all this research. So I took a couple of research articles I wrote, which I shortened them down. What you got in there is that my major professor, Dr. Hammonds, told me, "Don't do a research journal." He said, he said, "This needs to be in the USA Today. This needs to be where people can access it." So I've changed it. So now that's what we have is a monthly newsletter. It's taken me about 18 months to kind of get this all stuff together. It's called First and 45. You know why it's called First and 45? This is I was able to take a silhouette of Justice and me when I was coaching at San Jose State. That's me walking and my son walking behind me. And that's what fathers have to do with their sons to help them get to the landmark. That's what that stands for. You know why 45 is so important? The number one cause of death for black boys ages 1 to 44 is homicide. Dr. Dillahay, I went to her office. Where are you, Dr. Dillahay? Over public health here. We had a meeting. She let me come by her office. I told her, I said, "Dr. Dillahay, I saw a grant for childhood obesity the other day." And I said, "Wow, $2.5 million to study." And I said, "Man, that's great." I said, "If you hear of anything that can help me study about homicide for black boys 1 to 12, let me know, because obesity is not the epidemic for black boys. It's gun violence. Let me know." That's what I'm going to study for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to go back and coaching, where the salaries are really good now. Sometimes I look at what my friends make and I say, I must be crazy. But God has continued to provide. And the things we had. So I met Charlie Rock, who he and Antoine, and they told me, they came over and said, "That don't work, coach. This is what you need to do. This is what we used to do. We know the mindset." So, when you're on bank boards and everything and you run an organization, you always have an advisory board. Well, I got the best advisors right here that's telling me everything on the mindset, on how to be transformational. C-Rock, come on up here and take your seat right here. Let's give Charlie Rock a seat. So that's what I want to let you know. That's what this is about. And I have some people here. David Martin, will you stand? David's my editor, my We were in jails. He's my chronicle. Helped me with my research. Brittany Rush, will you please stay? She does my website now that we have, our First and 45 website. And so Brian Miller is going to be joining because we're doing work with smart data as well right now and tracking our things. So, and I'm glad you here, you have an organization, and we want to partner with everybody because hey, let me tell you, I'm proud Bronze Star recipient of Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And when we took Kuwait, we did it by air, land, and sea. So it's going to take everybody. We're going to have to do it up top. We're going to have to do it on low. We're going to need the CBs. We're going to need the Marines. We're going to need the Navy SEAL. We're going to need everybody to stop violence in our community. But it can be done. And you know why it can be done? I'm going to tell you. It is an epidemic. But here's the deal. It's only 2% of our population that's responsible for 56% of the homicide. So I'm just going to focus on the 2%. When everybody comes and say, well, Dr. Hill, I said, I'm the specialist for this. Right. My mother had aneurysm. She saw a neurologist. She didn't see a general practitioner. That's who did her brain surgery. My dad had cancer. Now he would go to Carti. And this brings me to our situation. We're treating this as a public disease. So that's where the research is coming from. So everything here, when you look at these numbers and see this is what the numbers is, and they're helping me with the game plan. And I found out over the last 3 years we were doing this post-COVID, that they helped me understand that poverty, okay, moral decay, all right, social choices, that's one of the core factors that leads to crime. So what's that mean? That means that come on down, Peanuts Mom, come on in. You come on in. Come on down here. These are our mothers who last night we met here. These are mothers of black sons who've lost sons here in Little Rock. All your mothers and parents here that lost sons, y'all please stand. I want to give y'all a hand. Grandmothers too. Liz and Yolanda, they lead. I met them through this process, and their picture names is here in here, and this is what we do. Next month's feature is going to be on prisons. All right, it's because we men of color make up 60% of those incarcerated, and how it's tied into the economy, and how we're going to look at this and see exactly how we can change this based on us continue to build prisons and why we have to turn off the faucet. And that's what Charles and Turtle's going to talk about their personal experiences and how they end up. And I'm going to roll into that with this story right here. I go into a school as a state board member. I walk in with the superintendent. I see a kid crying. It's 5th grade. Little 5th grade boy of color. And I stop the superintendent. I love little boys. I said, what's wrong with my little brother here? They say, well, he's been a problem, and we're sending him home. 5th grade? What'd he do? Why you guys send a 5th grade home? Nobody said anything. I said, there's nothing we can do. Nobody said anything. So I said, okay. So I do my tour of the school. I come back. He's still over there crying. I said, well, what's the plan? They said, well, he doesn't have a father, and his mother can't come get him because she's from work. I said, you going to send him home? Now, the laws have been changed that you're not supposed to be able to suspend a kid through the 6th grade. That's what the law says. But I just interviewed 9, Turtle went with me, David went with me, of the 16 teenagers who committed murder in Little Rock last year. There was a common thread in the 9 that I would talk to, going to Pine Bluff next. This is information I'm trying to do to help decide the material. Why is that? My dad died of cancer at 51. He didn't get he didn't get his PSA taken. See what I know now? If I go in, my brother died of cancer at 41. So I go to my urologist and I get a PSA if my PSA, I'm already know I'm genetically inclined to have cancer. So if I get a high PSA level, they're not going to suspend me. They're going to send me to another doctor. That's what we're doing to our kids. The most vulnerable kids, we're sending them home. One kid, that was here on the board, we arrested him because they suspended him from school. He came back to school and tried to slip in the line to get lunch, and they arrested him for trespassing. Help me. Well, give him lunch and let him go home. That's what we're dealing with. You know why I can say this at church? Jesus would never suspend anybody. What did he tell a woman at the well? He knew. That's why we have to be transformational. That's why we got to do things different. These guys have taught me so much stuff. I don't do much without talking to them. What y'all think? See, you don't have to have degrees to know something. These guys, Paul Chapman said, these guys are emotionally off the charts with intelligence. Yes. And I can see it. That's why they're still here. That's right. Charlie Mack, how old are you?
46.
Charlie Mack is 46. Turtle, how old are you?
43.
I got to get Turtle 45. See, right now. How many grandkids you got?
One.
See, once you become 45, you become a grandparent. And that's what we helping them do. See, from 1 to 44, you're in the danger zone. Y'all know I don't like my son to come home. That's something. Why? 4 of his friends been murdered. That he knew. He'll text me, Dad, don't you remember him? So we got to change this. And we can't do things the way we've been done because the prison system, we keep building prisons, but we're not turning off the faucet. That's what today is about. And the faucet starts as early as teenage pregnancy, at 15 years old. And that's why the church has to come around and take those guys. And we have to identify them. I promise you, it's not more than 300 a year. But what happens, 300 and we don't do anything for them, then it's 600, then it's 900. It's like compound interest. But if we identify them, just like, hey, you got high PSA level. Let's go over here and treat this. Let's give you some chemo so we can get this. We get it. The number one factor for those 9 kids who murdered was elementary school suspension. Can you believe that? David, how many times they said they were suspended? Multiple. With that, Turtle, I want you to start and tell about your education experience and how you ended up doing what you did and what changed your life.
How y'all doing? And I hope y'all morning was great. First of all, I want to give a thanks out and a little slight prayer to Kamaya, my daughter that was murdered, and Derek Olivier. You know, they kind of the reason why I'm here today. They kind of the reason why my journey has been great. You know, they always been to the left and right of me. Man, I was, when it came to education in school, man, my mama had problems with me, y'all. I never completed school. When I say suspensions, they was like repetitive. My mama always telling me, you getting in trouble at school, you getting suspended out of school. You know, I never took school serious. And the day I got expelled out of the 10th grade, at my 10th grade year, it wasn't even a week later, I was locked up in the feds for 10 years. And I ain't come home till I was 26. I was 16 years old when I went to the federal penitentiary, and I got out of that mug when I was 26. So when I came home, you know, my life was just up and down. You know, I was trying to figure out who I was, where I be, where was I going, did I have a purpose? And I had an auntie who lived with cancer for like 20 years, and she seen me going down the wrong path. And she was just like, man, I want you to go to school. My auntie named Elfrida Jones. She was like, I want you to go to school. And I'm like, man, go to school? She was like, yeah, go to Arkansas Baptist. So I'm like, man, I done rode past Arkansas Baptist, man. That looked like the neighborhood. I'm like, man, I don't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? So shout out Arkansas Baptist, man. It came a long way. And she was just like, man, I just want you to go. You know, I'm living out my last days. I really want you to go to school with me. And I was like, man, my auntie got cancer. She willing to go to school with me. So let me go. And then something stuck with me. My mama said she was embarrassed because I didn't finish high school. So it always stuck with me. So I always said, maybe if I go back to school, if I finish school, then I can show my mama that I can complete school. You know what I mean? So that was one of the main motivations I had, and what pushed me in my drive was my mama, to show her that, mama, I ain't as bad as what my teachers never said I was, or the community that paid me to be. But if I get a little work and if I settle down, I can get through it, and I can make it, and I can make you proud of me. So I'm here today, and I want you to know that I just want you to be proud of me, and I want to be somebody for you, and I love you. And I got to school, my mom kept saying, it's a man coming there. It's a man coming there. His name, Dr. Fitz Hill. He going to save you. I'm telling you, just go talk to her. Just go talk to her. So, yeah. So I'm in school. I wasn't participating because the school it wasn't fascinating to me. Like, when I got to Arkansas Baptist, the way it looked, I thought it wasn't for me. I'm like, man. But then I'm like, man, I'm fit to drop this, but I stayed down. When Dr. Fitz Hill called me in and told me that if you just go to class, you'll get 1 point, that stuck with me too. And I was like, man, nah, I got to at least go to class. I got to at least go to class. So I looked at him and I seen that he was serious. You know what I mean? I never had, all my teachers was like kind of against me. Like, they weren't, every time they had a story to tell mama, and they was right, I was wrong. I was right, they was wrong. But Fitz Hill, he was like he was on my side. So when I walked in his office, y'all, I seen a vision board. I seen like a blueprint of the school or what it would look like. Them were just things that I never seen before. So I'm looking like, what you fit to do with this? He was like, this is what Arkansas Baptist gonna look like in a couple of years. So I'm like, yeah. So in my mind, I'm saying, ain't Arkansas Baptist gonna look like that. That's too up in there. So he like, yeah. So I was like, man, I seen the genuineness. I seen that he really cared that I get an education. And that's what made me put my pride to the side, made me put everything that I was going to and sit down and buckle down and focus. And I gave him a chance to listen, and then he was explaining to me that he was a coach, so I knew he had some skills that I needed. Coaching was like when they have a basketball coach, a football coach. There's things in the neighborhood that we need as children. We need our fathers, because some of us didn't have fathers that was there. You know what I mean? I was kind of the person that my father was out of prison, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't there. My mama had to work. My grandma working 4 jobs to take care of all of us. So I kind of got off on the wrong start, and I jumped out there off the porch a little early. So, when I seen that he cared and he genuinely cared, I went to go get my grades right. And then that's when I started giving my teachers a chance in class, And I met Miss Clark, and she was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful teacher, Miss Clark. She pushed me a long way and told me that I can do it and just stay down. That's what I had to learn about education and about school. I had to stay down, And during this process, how you do good and you think everything going right, the devil got in. Some stuff ended up, a bunch of he say, she say went out, and some stuff ended up happening in my house. Ended up getting shot with like 58 bullets. So I lost my daughter. She was 6 years old. She was shot 7 times, 4 times in the back of the head, 3 times in the spine. And y'all, that crushed me. You know what I'm saying? That, like, I don't know. Like, it stuck me in a stage to where for a minute I thought I wasn't even living. I was like, man, am I here? Like, what is going on? Who am I looking at? I had no direction for that. I didn't even know if I could even come back from that. But only thing I know that I had to do something. And you know what I mean? And I had people that believed in me, And that day that Fitz Hill pulled up, I had just left the hospital, came from the hospital and went straight back to the house where she got killed. And I was in there actually just praying, I don't really know. I was just trying to find myself within it. And Arkansas Baptist pulled up. And I was like one of the first people that came was school. You know what I mean? So I looked at that. No matter what we was supposed to do, no matter what, when Fitz Hill pulled up and Arkansas Baptist pulled up to me, it made me feel like, hold up now. You whatever you fist to do over here, I think you need to ride over, go over here. Because we love you. You know what I'm saying? So we love you way more than those streets did. So, and then the thing that he did to me that impressed me. First thing he asked me was, did I need anything? I said no. But the next question was, can I pray for you? And I ain't never had a school ask to pray for me. You know what I'm saying? Not a teacher, not nothing. So the elements that he shot at me, it humbled me. And I knew then that I was on the right track. I knew then if I make any false move, or if I turn any kind of way, I'll be doing the opposite of what Kamaya believed in. Kamaya loved going to school, She loved waking up in the morning, we putting the shoes on, and she talking, you know what I mean? And she we getting her ready to go to school. That was something special in kids' life if that's what they presented. And we presented education to our children. And when he did that, it blocked me. He don't know. He hit me so hard when he asked me to pray for me, and he pulled up on me like this, because that made me it made me get to a standstill. It made me hold up. Before I take these guys out here to shoot up the neighborhood, to run in these people's houses, I run them up in education. I run them up to Arkansas Baptist to get a GED. You know what I mean? So the change started coming. And that's what I respect and love about Fitz Hill and what he did for me. He actually made me realize who I was and what did I really want out of life. You know what I mean? And it was education. It was a way to speak to people. Like, I've never spoke to anyone. I've never been on a platform. All of this is new to me. You know what I mean? But what it did was it gave me another direction in life, and it showed me that you don't want to be over there. You can be over here and have a family. You know what I mean? Have people that genuinely love you, that you can go to sleep around, And I started educating myself. I started getting my life together. I started working. I got my first job, and I said, I'm going to stick with it, because I had one job in the last 3 months, And a lady asked, it kind of embarrassed me on my job, because she was like, you really work? And I'm like, what do you mean, do I really work? I got kids and a grandkids. And she was like, Turt, I can't believe you work. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm normal. People didn't think I was normal for the trouble that I used to be in, And yeah, and I just want y'all to know, man, Antoine, I came a long way to get to this thinking. I really had to forgive, you know what I mean? And I had to forgive myself, first of all. I had to forgive my family. I had to forgive my neighborhood, my friends. Like once I opened up to forgiveness, my whole world changed. I started seeing things different. I started thinking different. I started wanting better for my community, not just for me. I wanted better for the people in front of me. See, the one thing about me, I didn't choose a brand or a business to physically do something to give to people. And I chose something that I can help other people with. So long as I keep other people in front and keep Kamaya's name vague, that was the best weapon I could have. She didn't want to see me in the casket with her or see me go back to the penitentiary for another 10 years. She wanted to see me graduate. She wanted to see me hold a job down. She wanted me to speak about her name every day. Every day. It's not a day to go by I don't say, hey, Kamaya, or R.I.P. Kamaya, I love you and I love you and I love you. Even to the guys that even done this, I even got the forgiveness in my heart for them. I forgive them. I forgive them, because we all was in this. We all was caught up in it, thinking that we was living a right way when we wasn't. And that's some things that our community take us through, y'all. Our community will have us where we feel like we down, where we feel like we ain't got no purpose in life. But that's not true. God make no mistakes. Because I promise you, if he made a mistake, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't be, And and through all that process, God has walked me. He educated me. You know, he made my school even better. When I was looking up, I was so much in a mess. Everything was so much in a clatter to me. When I was waking up, I watched Arkansas Baptist just change. I watched me in the inside just change. I got my first apartment. I held my own house down. I got my first car note. And I'm looking like, man, I ain't doing this by robbing, stealing, and killing. I'm doing this by working a job. And it felt so good that I cleaned up my mess. You know, and that's what means something to me. You know, that meant a lot to me. Like just to clean up and just to see my life change and everything around me change. You know, able to get my cousin and we able to start a brand. You know, he able to feed himself, able to feed his family, feed the people in front of him, able to help, able to send friends to get their GED, go to college, go to trucking school. You know what I mean? Able to go into the county jail and talk to the juveniles and tell them, look, you don't want to take this route, but I'm going to tell you a route that I took. And it might work for you and it might not, but mine was education. And education, I know, and with Arkansas Baptist, I know that they're gonna be there for you. They gonna if you go into your right school and that's where you're supposed to be, it's gonna work for you. Arkansas Baptist worked for me. They never let me down. Like, it was times I didn't have nowhere to sleep. I was sleeping in the car. I was too afraid to tell my mama, like, I can't come to your house. I don't want to come to your house because I'm afraid people following me. I might even try to shoot your house up. I'm trying to stay out at this time. I'm trying to stay, just stay afloat, just had no protection. But my protection was ABC. Every time I went to ABC, God intervened better. Like, he just got bigger, and bigger. Every time I walked into school, every time I straightened something out, he just glowed to the point where it backed my enemies up. It backed everything up that was in my way, who was trying to stop me from even being at this point. Where to even turn me back, it pushed it all the way back. Till I don't even see it no more. You know, all I see now is what I can do to make my daughter better. All I can see now is what I need to do to keep her name alive, to keep her living. You know, and that's what I want to tell the moms today. If you just open your heart out and you forgive, and because the guilt trip is a mug, it would take you down. You would stop eating, your hair would grow. I started growing a little hair on my head. I didn't shave no more, you know. And I was just down. I just forgot about myself. You know what I mean? But once I let God first, and he taught me and gave me the reason to forgive, I started cleaning up. You know what I'm saying? And all the mess that you get through in life, it disappeared. It disappeared. I built my own little mansion. I built my own clean floors. So, you know, it's humble out here, man. I just want to thank the people, because without y'all, you know, without Fitz Hill, without Paul Chapman, without any of these people, I wouldn't know where I would be today without Arkansas Baptist being there firsthand. They weren't there second. They didn't come later on in the mission. They came first. They was the first people on the scene. So if you get that from a school and get that from a person, then that's what you keep. Then that's what route you're supposed to be in. And I want to thank Arkansas Baptist and Dr. Fitz Hill, man, for being the best mentor I ever had, for being one of the best people in my life. And no matter what, I'm going to keep this journey going. I'm going to stay on the right path, you know. And some things I'm going to turn my other cheek to and cry about, you know. But that's what y'all here for.
And that's good, because as we get ready to go, you know, I love it like he's my son. He called me dad sometime, and I take that on, and I honor that because of that. He told me didn't have her, so I play that role. But I think it's important that we understand what he said about forgiveness. Yes. For everybody, and then as we go to Charlie to hear his experience and the things that he's done, then we'll take a few questions to try to keep us on track on how y'all connection made when you were suspended from school. And I'm gonna let you start right there, and then go back with your story like this, and how you pulled him in and how things work. Let's give it up for C-Rock right here.
C-Rock.
At that time when Antoine was going through that, I was just getting out. the feds. I went to federal prison when I was 18, and I got out when I was 31. And making the wrong choices in life. Where we come from, everything bad was good. So I didn't have the right critical thinking. Education was far from my mind. I was gonna be the best rider from my hood, and I stood on it, and it took me right to federal prison. So while I was in federal prison, I'm like, man, you better than this. And two, I know I had left a lot of mess out there on these streets. And then when you see those mothers cry, man, that's the most hardest thing, and it makes you embarrassed that you even took part of what in place with those type of decisions and the things we made. I was destroying my neighborhood to the top part. I'm like, man, one night God just hit me like, man, you gotta make it right. So I'm like, Turk, man, we gotta go clean up where we messed up. We got what? But we gotta go clean up where we messed up. And we hit it running. And right now, to this day, last year was a year, y'all, we don't want to see no more. It was ugly out here. But Ward 1 had the lowest murder rate of all of Little Rock. That's because we are in our neighborhood. Mr. Peanut, all of us from the elders all the way on down, man, we collide together and we make sure that our neighborhood is safe. And we do it hands-on. We're there every day, all day, because, man, our neighborhood, it was destructive. Very, very destructive, and I was one of the leaders of it being destructive, so I had to go and I had to make it right. And Turtle used to always come to me, man, come meet Fitz. I'm like, all right, bro, all right. Man, come on, man, you gotta rock him. Tell you, I'm like, man, all right, I'm gonna go. And then one day, things happened, and he came like, Rock, you got to come with him. Like, come on, man, let's do it. And from there, we formed Empowering My Environment. And we made a pledge to take care of our community. And with the help of Fitz and Paul Chapman, they've given us the resources to take back to our community. And we do that. We go back and we help our brothers. We breaking down the gangs. We taking back over our neighborhood and we making them empower our environment. We killing the gangs in our neighborhood. So through the help of Fitz and Paul Chapman, man, we're able to take resources back into our community, education back into our community, instead of murder and mayhem and just all the craziness. And to all the mothers and the stuff that we did in this street, man, we apologize. But we highly apologize because we were wrong. And we just gonna make our wrongs right. And that's all we can do. Thank y'all. I ain't too much of a talker. I'm more. They get mad at me because I don't talk a lot. Because I'm more the behind the scene, man. I do most of the production.
It's quality over quantity. I know when we take the thing. I take them out to eat about once, twice a month, and to sit there and listen to them talk, because that's where Jesus, he fed. That's when you get. That's how you build relationships. Mm-hmm. Now they eat a lot. Yeah.
Big place.
They like to go to nice places too. They said first time.
Hey, Turk, I'm getting the $30 plate. Plate.
We went to Samantha's last week, and what they said, Samantha's, they like that. They enjoy it. Yeah. So but the time. What I want y'all to talk about a little bit is, and I want Brian Miller. Will you come up here and join me for a sec? Because Brian was my dean of men at Arkansas Baptist College, and so you can't do things. Yeah. Now, Brian has been working over in Southwest Little Rock, and he helped me with Sixth and Gold program. He coached a team, one of those teams. He's been coaching and hold on up here so they can see you from this side. Yeah. And so Brian, what I want you to be able to share is what I realized is that I thought Sixth and Gold was going to be a solution, but what I told them, I realized we were flunking. Because it's not the sixth grade. I said it don't need to be Sixth and Gold, it need to be 3rd and 2. because we're losing our kids before the 6th grade. Because as I sit over there and talk to those 9 young men who were arrested for murder, I said, we're too late. I told David. David and I sit over there. I came out. It took me about 48 hours to recover from going over there. And I want to thank LaShondra. Will you please stand? She works. Would you stand? She works intervention. And she allowed for us to get in there and just talk. And when I talked to the young people, I said, you have siblings? And I said, do you want them in here? And they said, no. So then they started talking. I said, well, I'm going to take back the information you give to me so I can keep them from coming here once I know what to do. This is a health disease, as I told Dr. Dillahay. This is a public health crisis. The CDC has named this an epidemic. It's homicide, okay? Not cancer. All right? Not diabetes, not stroke. Homicide is the #1 cause of death for us. All right? And that's why you see here the majority of the perpetrators are us. But I'm looking at it differently because those who kill us are emotionally sick. Because it takes a person who detached from his feelings to pull a gun. A study talked about the University of Boston. They found the kids who were committing murders were so detached from the reality. That's what Turtle was talking about, out of their mind, that they started shooting and didn't even understand. And they said because they didn't have relationships, okay, that they would sit around in the gangs and say, we need to take somebody out. And they say, I'll do it. The most traumatized kid. Everybody's not a shooter. Right. So what we got to find is identify that 2%. And it starts what we got as a church as teenage pregnancy. That's why I've asked the mobs to, once we identify Miss Sharice Dean, she's not here, she's on the state board. When we find those teenage pregnant females, we have to not look down on them. We have to go encourage those babies and say, we can't continue to have babies outside of marriage. This is why. And that's what I've asked Yolanda and Liz to lead to do that. And if you look, there are 4 other criteria for them. For other areas: remove illegal guns out of the hands of irresponsible individuals, increase high school graduation rate among black males. 52% of black males drop out of high school throughout the United States of America. Decrease teenage pregnancies among black females. These are root causes that we must address. And what we're going to be doing now, as you see Save Our Sons now and Mothers of Black Sons Standing Against Death, is the goal of this is to help them provoke the media to cover the intraracial homicides of black males with the same energy. Now listen to this now. With the same energy that we do when we kill by the police or outside of our race. The same energy. Because to them, they say, what we're saying is black death matters. That's what we're saying. And so if you look at the numbers, now I don't have it to my body, it's like in 2020, there were 223 black males murdered by the police. 223, but there was 10,000 plus black males murdered within our community. So now 10,200. So yes, let's be clear. I tell my son, if you get stopped by the police, I understand, he's a black male, be quiet, say yes sir, no sir. If they're bad, let me handle it in court, or let daddy deal with that in the public. Let me deal with it in the daylight. Just get home to me. Just do that. Tell them the same thing. Call me if you got a problem. I'll be waiting right down the town waiting. If anybody mistreated, we're going to do right by God. Right's not always comfortable, but right is right. And so that's important that we understand exactly how we're going to move forward. And that's why you can help us bring awareness to this crisis by subscribing to this newsletter so I can support the mothers. We're going to try to create their own nonprofit entities, but we have mobs and Save Our Sons now. Most people don't know that homicide is the #1 cause of death for black males aged 1 to 44. But it is. And I want Brian to share a little bit about what he's been doing in Southwest Little Rock and with Smart Data. He's going all over the country, and we're going to be partnering to do that. Kind of speak a little bit about what you're doing. We'll take a few questions and get out of here.
Hey, good afternoon. I got 2 minutes, so I'm going to use one and give one back, all right? So real quick while we do this, I served at Dr. Hill, and if you know any saying that they say in higher education is you serve at the pleasure of the president. So I'm honored that his pleasure was serving the community, and I had the privilege of doing that. But there's 2 things we realize that kids want: safety and belonging. Those are 2 things that we all really want: safety and belonging, and we want to provide that. So, and if a kid doesn't have safety and belonging, scientists say that the frontal lobe goes off and a fire alarm goes off and it stops them from learning. This is scientific. And in our schools, if a school isn't safe, then kids aren't going to learn. If they don't feel like they belong, and that's why some of us up here join gangs. That's why some people out there joined organizations. That's why people join Greek organizations, just all kind of different organizations, churches, because you want a sense of belonging. And those are some of the main things we try to instill. So those belongings come in clubs and organizations when you're on our campuses, when you're working with young people. You have to get them involved in some type of club or organization so they understand they belong there and that they're safe there. Something else, I just want to give you one more pointer, because I'm going to sit down. With young people, if you see a young person go off, this is also something that's mental, please give them 20 to 25 minutes before their mind recalibrates to adjust that situation. Just in case we have any educators in here, we'll see kids go off and we rush in and we grab them and they don't respond. Mentally, this isn't a choice, this is mentally. They need time to process that. Especially young men, our minds develop a year slower than ladies. So if you're working with young men and women, young people, period, if they're in a trauma-induced situation, give them some time to process that. So what we're doing at Little Rock School District, we kind of, with Dr. Hill working with Six and Go, we're working with young people around the country. But in Arkansas, at Cloverdale, I don't know if I can say the school. It's too late, okay. Well, at Cloverdale, we're working with young people, and we asked for some of the students that were getting in trouble, the most at-risk population that was at risk of being suspended, expelled. And with those young people, we put them in a club or organization, we worked with them, and the suspensions went down. We went from 3 suspensions that entire semester. We only had 3 kids suspended. The following semester, with no clubs or organization, 32 suspensions. So you can see how that correlates. Yes, a big difference in having positive role models in the lives of our young people. So I'm going to open it up to questions, but through our partnership with Smart Data, I got you.
Before you do that, just give a quick deal on your experience on how your mentor came to you and your experience in the gang right there in Sacramento. Right?
Okay, so I'm originally from Sacramento, California. This isn't hard work. This is hard work for me. This is me giving back. This is when I hear about foster care and I hear about all those different challenges, because I personally had that. I had a mother who had too much on her plate. She had 5 kids and it was too much for her. She was on drugs and she said, "I'm out." She left us in a hotel room. So I grew up bitter, angry, and my belonging came in the 29th Street Garden Block Crips. That's where I felt the safest. That's where I felt the protected. And that's where I felt they highlighted the abilities that I had. So I got involved in gang life. But I had a mentor. I had a mentor who's the founder of the OK program. He came in. He started the program. He went to court with me, and he never gave up on me. To this day, if I call him right now, he'll answer the phone. So if you're a mentor, mentors isn't something you turn off and on. That's a commitment to a young person's life. That's you saying, I'm committed to them. And regardless of if you're a mentor and you want to mentor somebody, regardless of your color, your race, you just need to be faithful and be there. Be faithful and be there. I can have the worst testimony or the best testimony. He's still there for me. So just tied back to Little Rock School District, what we've done now and what you all have, if there are any educators here in Little Rock, if you're working with your superintendent, there are softwares that are out here now. I personally work with Smart Data Dashboard that can specifically tell you what time of the day, the location, the students involved on specific incidents on your campus. And if you have the right team, then we can come in and give that team some ideas on what they need to do to serve that population of kids. So perfect example, we had some fights happening between 10 to 12 with a certain group of kids. What do? We put in a barbershop from 10 to 12 for those group of kids. So now they're cutting hairs, they're learning trades, and guess what? The incidents have decreased. So the data is so smart that when the instructor goes in today, administrator goes to work today, they can find out all the incidents that happened yesterday, the prior week, or the prior month. It's not as delayed as it used to be. You know, usually data was lapsed, so you're waiting weeks and months and semesters before you can make a decision. But now data is so advanced, you can make a decision on what happened on your campus the last few days. So we have all this technology to make sure, because we're having a shortage of people. The task, people are they're busy, they have so much on their plate. Last thing you need is another task that might work, might not work. So now we use technology to find the spaces, the resources, and the programmings to best serve our students. And there was a question in the back.
Question.
Yeah, question for everybody, but based on what Charlie, what you said?
C-Rock.
Yeah, you said very briefly that Fitz will give you resources and you take those in, and that equips you to do what it is that you want to do. Just assuming you had a room full of people who wanted to, like, for a reason, I can't go do what you do, but, and I don't have a ton of resources, but I can help. Can you unpack that a little bit more beyond just like give money, but like what are some things that could be passed off that you could take and help, or maybe things that you don't have that you would want, or your years in the future, or just maybe it's really simple and stuff that just works day to day, this and that.
For example, Turtle and myself, we work for 100 families. And what 100 families does, we have a CDL program. So I go into my neighborhoods and I find the people that I know don't have jobs and like, hey, bro, you want to drive a truck? Man, how I do that? I got you. Come on. Let's go. You feel what I'm saying? We put them in the welding programs. We put them in the, what other program? Our other homeboy, medical coding. So I go into these neighborhoods, man, I be in the clubs. Man, hey, with this guy and this guy, hey, man, chill out. Hey, I got something for you. And I know these boys, they big dope boys, so I have to give them something to take away, to get them out the streets, I got to give something. I can't just go out here and ask these brothers to drop something. How they gonna feed their family? So EME, we get with different, every resource place that we can get to.
Y'all had a cookout. Y'all had
On the 17th, June 17th, we have a major cookout in our neighborhood where we're gonna have a cookout and all donations go towards us rebuilding our park and rebuilding our neighborhood back up.
And then, like with Bishop, Fred, you had
Yeah,
the
we
first
did-
deal.
We did a cookout a couple years ago with the Bishop Fred Harris, so we was able
City
to.
serve.
We was
Gave out
able
toys,
to city serve, give out
right
toys,
Pastor Drew.
feed our community. When we say resources, we mean that we're able to take trades back to our people, something that they don't know nothing about.
Right.
You know, we able to give them a blueprint, like say me. You know, I take my blueprint and I show them what I did, which is going to Arkansas Baptist, which is never giving up on myself, which is believing and accepting a mentor that believe in me. So when we talk about resources, we just talking about the overall, in general, of what Fitz Hill done for us. You know what I'm saying? He put me in position to meet Paul Chapman, who was to hire me, which was able to hire my cousin, which was able to hire my brother, which was able to hire my friend. So those resources that we bring back to our community.
So what he's talking about, what we call relational equity, which they don't oftentimes have where they're coming from.
Right.
But see, it's my responsibility to give him the right hand of fellowship, not just in church, but so he can provide for his family. You know, now I'm gonna give him. We out eating at the hibachi place, and somebody had a gun that was out there. I watched him talk about how you diffuse that situation on somebody who was looking for a handgun. I sit there and listen as you talk. Somebody was trying to get a...
Which one is? Oh, I remember what you're talking about.
You told me, Coach, I got to step outside. There's something getting ready to go down.
Right. Big fight went down at the club. They took the gun off the boy. I know both parties. I'm not from their neighborhood, but I know they're big homies. So what Turtle and myself do, we go out and we go to every different gang and we get those leaders from every different gang, so we have a rapport with all of them. So I'm able to call this side and like, hey, let's open up a dialogue and see how can we squash this situation. So I was able to call the other side, was like, hey man, dude just want his gun back. Matter of fact, I come get it, you know what I'm saying, and I get it back to him, which it was a legal gun, but it was gonna be some stuff to go up behind that situation. But I was able to go into that situation and bring it down a little bit, just pump the volume down, you feel me? Because it was about to go up. And just so happened, I think the city, man, that they allowed Turtle and myself to come in and negotiate terms and stuff. It's hard work, and it's scary work, because if I put my word on this and my word on this, and somebody come back and do that, it can come back on Antoine and myself. So we work hard at building relationships with different sides and different gangs and bringing them together and where we can start a dialogue, because 2026, man, we want to have top 10 peaceful city. Yeah, we tired of being in the top 10 the most violent.
Question? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Glad you invited me.
Glad you be here. Thanks for driving in, Pastor.
As I listened to Turtle and Charles, I got emotional. Real deal. Fitz talked about time love. We need to expedite it. We need to expedite
I know.
opportunity for time loveness to hear your team.
Yeah, we're gonna come.
Team and see how you're networking and bringing everything.
Yeah.
See, because in Five Bluff, there's a lot of people trying to do a lot of things, but they all trying to do their own thing. Right. And it's a lot of resources that are being wasted.
And that's what we're trying to do with the mothers. That's why last night they met here and trying to, and look, we take mothers of murdered parents. That we had all the organizations here that we're trying to do this and trying to have a strategic plan, a 10-year plan. I'm 59. I said, God, I'm going to do this till I'm 70. All right. And so hopefully our city will be better in 10 years. That's on the track and looking at, because what First and 45 is, it's a game plan that I want to thank Mitch Bettis of Arkansas Business Publisher. Mitch was going to make a donation to what we're doing, and I said, no, Mitch, I said, that's not sustainable for what you're giving me. I need something to be strategic. So the newsletter, we designed this with the annual publication, which comes out this summer. It's a game plan. What they've helped me research in the first quarter is 0 to 10. That's the first quarter of a little black boy's life, looking at his situation. The second quarter is 11 to 20. With graduation. Now we get them there before the bang. If we get them there doing right, then we don't have to worry about what happened when it's 30 and 40. Okay, the third quarter of their life, what I call, because look, 44, halftime is 20. See, we thought, see they said, well, that's 70 is the new 50. Well, not for black boys. No, I said, no, not for us. I said, so then the third quarter, what happens? The third quarter is what SOS is going to lead, because Turtle told him over there, now, you getting ready to probably do some hard time. He said, but when you get out, like I got at 26, see, they done learned from 100 families how they take these families. I said, Turtle, I want you and Charles, when these young black males get out of jail, I want us to be there waiting on them. And say, now we're going to go to welding school. Already what they doing, we have a plan for them. And here's the deal why I know it can happen. It's not that many. But what happens, it continues to grow every year. But he just said 33, all right? Well, you take that and you multiply it times 8. In middle school, that's not at every school, because the zones are different. So you're looking at no more than 150 kids. If we take those kids, rehab them with the summertime, give those kids, love them in the Dream Center, give those kids like Pastor Drew and them do Special K over there. The kids come to the Dream Center, they don't even want to leave. You know why? They get to eat all they want. And they got somebody to love them. They got somebody to read to them. I was over at our Dream Center, and the mother came over there to get her kid. The kid ran to hide. He didn't want to go home, because how Kendall was treating them. And that's how, and sometimes when we suspend kids, we send them back to the trauma that caused them to behave the way they act. That's right. And I don't get that. And that's why we have to be different. This is research and development. And we take in their practicality, their expertise to help. Last question right here, and then I know we're going to go. Yes, sir. See, that's what this meeting, that's exactly, this is how God working right now. See this? This guy right here. What? Smart data. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So we can have that, so I know I can collect that information to our contractors so they can know, hey, along this time frame, you can have incidents that occur that can probably help resolve those incidents when they even.
And let me tell you why that's so Harvey, the founder of that, we meet every week on call, and that's what we've been trying to tie this in together. Brian, I'm gonna let you address this because that's what he asked me to write the curriculum to take to the social environment, which they have helped me create right here to make this is what we need to do for the first 10 years of this kid, based on their experiences and others. And so that's what I want to collect from other people. You will have information that we can start charting and researching and building this think tank that we have. Brian, I'll let you kind of add to that.
So quick 30 seconds. You're right on point. Thank you for your work. There's a dashboard within Smart Data that's for the criminal justice, juvenile justice. So when a judge or someone of your status is working with young people, you can see all of the services that were provided to that student during high school, elementary, and just seeing if everyone has done everything they can to help this kid out. You can see some of their disabilities, some of the things they struggle with. So we're giving you a holistic approach, a holistic view on this kid to make sure we're doing things to help them. So yes, that's also a dashboard that currently exists.
We'll connect with you after so we can do that. Last question. I know this is the longest we've ever been, but I know we're trying to stop violence in our city, right? Amen. Yes, sir, Hugh.
Thank you guys for what you're doing. I'm also the state government, so I'm Department of Commerce, and what you guys talk about in terms of plugging people in. First of all, your strategy that you talk about. I'd love to connect my peers in state government who are in DHS, corrections, commerce, which is the workforce side. There are thousands of job opportunities in the state that employers need to have jobs filled.
Yes, sir.
How can we need to connect to your strategy?
Okay.
You guys can't do it. I mean, you're doing Ward 1 by yourself.
We want to do the whole city.
We have to double down and triplicate what you guys are doing all over the place. So we need to connect
Yes.
strategy. We need to connect you guys
Work session.
to the right policy makers so we can start impacting.
And that's why it's important for ain't nothing but Jesus. Ain't nothing but Jesus. And that's why having everybody here and continue to do this from a work session standpoint, that we're able to come out and say, this is, strategy-wise, mothers, how we put them in, how we use their pain into action, and so how we can see how we're changing lives. I don't know if y'all saw this, and on here's the thing that I'm going to close with, but I call it the homicide grenade. It's an article in here, and I'm going to tell you why. Did you see the article last week? In most cases, when you think it's one death, when somebody dies, it's not. All right? On average, 2.5 black males are charged with each homicide. So on average, when you have, that's 2.5, you can roll it to 3, but I try to be conservative in my numbers. So you're really burying 4 black males out of the community with each homicide. And because they're going to spend 30 or 40 years in prison. So if you want to know why the black population now, why the Hispanic community has passed us in numbers, is because since 1950 to 2019, almost 450,000 black males have been murdered in the United States of America, which is more than have been murdered in World War I, II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and Desert Storm. Now here I am. I'm a proud Bronze Star recipient of Desert Storm. We got Saddam out of Kuwait. I was fighting for somebody I didn't know about. I'm in Kuwait. I don't know nobody in Kuwait. You got me over there. My M16. I drew all my weapons and over there. I'm sleeping out here in the desert. No, nobody. And I come back to America, and I'm going to close with this story about Derek. I'm here today because Derek Olivier was murdered on the campus on September 27, 2012 at 7:27 p.m. And this is why it's personal to me. Only time I used to turn off my phone was when I was coaching my son. As I was coaching Justice, Coach back here was with me. Coach Mabry, he coached my offensive line. I go back to Tropical Smoothie. It's frozen in my brain. Justice has ordered a Chipotle Chicken Club and a Sunset Sunrise. I remember it like it was yesterday. I turned my phone on while we were sitting there waiting for the food to come. We were going to sit there and talk about practice. My phone won't stop buzzing. Buzz, 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 buzz. Then finally Patsy reached my assistant and said, get to campus. A student's been shot, been murdered. I said, just get your stuff. With that, I got my phone. Get your stuff. We go. I take him home, drop him home. I pull up to campus. That yellow tape. Crime scene. I see it right now. All the media, everybody sitting there waiting for me. And I go, Chief Johnson, we got on tape. I sit there with the private investigator. I look at it. And I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there on tape. This young man with a white long shirt walking to our neighborhood down Bishop Street. Derek Olivier, never been in any trouble like y'all children. Never been in problem. Helping somebody, walked across the street, person had a flat tire. He's changing the tire. Come up, somebody walk down there, pull out 9mm, empty the whole clip. My students just scattered. Derek didn't know what it was because he was down there. He stood up. He stumbled back to campus, bled to death right in the entry. I looked at it, I couldn't believe another male would do that. Hurting people hurt people. And I told the investigator, I said, that man, that little boy, he was a dropout, he was fatherless, and he was unemployed. All the things we talked about. But here's the deal, I'm going to close. I called Miss Olivier, Mama Olivier. That's why we started the Derek Olivier Research Institute for the Prevention of Gun Violence. I said, Miss Olivier, she had heard something, and you could hear the tension in her voice. Yes, sir? Yes. I said, I called to tell you. Derek's been murdered, been killed. She started howling. I could still hear the voice. She was screaming. And then she got composed of herself, and she said, I told Derek he had two choices. He could go to the Army or he could go to school. She said, I could expect for him, Dr. Hill, he went to the Army to be murdered, but I sent my boy to you and he's dead. So I told her, I said, I promise you. That's why you see his picture right here. That's Derek. That's him. So I went to the board, Bob Childress, who was on my board at the time. They named the center the Derek Olivier Research Institute, and that's why I said, but people said, we'll still do stuff, but we're going to get this information out. You supporting this, help us create awareness for this epidemic. And with this, have you ever walked through an airport and seen somebody say, save the animals, save the elephants? Have you ever seen somebody call and say, donate to this because endangered species? Y'all see that? Yeah. All over, they got help save the ivy of whatever. They're endangered species. I'm asking you the same thing to help because these are endangered species. Brian Miller, will you close it out in prayer?
Hey, can we pray? God, thank you for today, life, health, and strength. We just pray over our city. We pray peace over our city. We pray over the young men. We pray forgiveness. And we pray over these young brothers that spoke today. Continue to bless them, order their steps. Bless everybody in congregation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, and you can go to First and 45 and website and sign up for the newsletter. Come out every month, and you do that, you'll get the game plan this summer.